Well, good morning, and it's great to be with you this morning, even if it is on screen. I'm actually recording from the garage today at 8 Fairways. It's the quietest part of the house I can find this afternoon, and surprisingly enough, the one that gives the best quality picture at the moment. I don't know about you, but it seems to me that each year preparations for Christmas begin earlier and earlier. When Katie visited Ransom's Garden Centre back on the 22nd of October, it was already decked out for Christmas, transformed for the festive season, and that was over 2 months before Christmas Day. Now, I'm not the Grinch, and apparently it looked beautiful. And maybe it is fitting this year, with many of us beginning to prepare for Christmas, or at least thinking about Christmas a lot further out than we usually would. And that's because of COVID-19. News items about whether people will be able to celebrate Christmas in any usual way began back in September. We'll have been thinking about our own arrangements, who we'll be able to see, who we won't, for quite some time. In our house, we began thinking about how to get Bethany back to Jersey only 2 or 3 weeks after she left Jersey to go back to university in September. Whether it's presents posted earlier, or expectations lowered well in advance, we have all had to begin preparing for Christmas a long way out in 2020. And so in our talks on Sundays, we're going to begin preparing for Christmas a little further out than we usually would, so that we can give plenty of time to get ready for Christmas. And that's the title of the series we're going to be doing in the next 6 weeks, Getting Ready for Christmas, as we move into Advent and through Advent, preparing ourselves for Christmas. Well, today, as we begin to get ready, I'd like us to think about it being a time to stop and to take stock. COVID has caused many things to stop, hasn't it? Whether it be the lockdown we experienced back in the early summer, where many things just stopped happening, including in the church. The knock-on effects of that have been holidays cancelled and events postponed, and much still is not up and running as it was before. And many people in lockdown earlier in the year commented on it being a time to take stock of what's really important, whether it be in work or in your family or in life in general. And with Christmas approaching, Christmas usually is a time to stop, isn't it? We all want to stop come Christmas Day, to leave work behind and to spend quality time with family and friends. But this Christmas, with coronavirus all around us, some of our traditions will stop. Things will be different. And I think it presents an opportunity to take stock, asking what's really important from the traditions we usually have. Maybe even what's really important about Christmas. The coming of Jesus at Christmas presents an opportunity to stop and to take stock. It's why, if you've ever attended a traditional carol service in a church, that the first Bible reading that's often chosen is right from the start of the Bible, thousands and thousands of years before the first Christmas. Because to understand Christmas and to be ready, we first need to stop and take stock of our own reality. And then we can understand why Jesus come to earth is such good news. Well, Genesis chapter 3 is the Bible reading that we hopefully heard earlier, and it sets the scene for the reality we experience in our world. Before the events of Genesis 3, everything has been great. It's been perfect even. There's a beautiful world, there's beautiful relationships, and everything is so good. Just as it should be on every level. It's good with God, it's good with each other, and it's good with the world around us. But then doubt is planted in both the goodness of God and whether he can be trusted. Let me read verses 1 to 5. Well, apologies for the jump in the picture. I just realised the computer was about to fall off its stand, so we just needed to sort that out for a moment. Genesis 3 verse 1 says this: Now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" Pause a second. God hadn't said that. If you look across at chapter 2, verse 17, God had said, "You're free to eat from any tree, but just not from one." And the woman said to the serpent, "Oh, we may eat from trees in the garden." Tick. "But God did say you must not eat fruit from the tree that's in the middle of the garden, and you mustn't touch it, or you will die." Well, God hadn't said that. "You will not certainly die," the serpent said to the woman. "For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you'll be like God, knowing good and evil." Well, the implication from what's said there is that how God has set up his world to be lived with him but under him is being prohibitive to us, rather than generous and freeing and liberating in how he asks us to live. And we're taken in, aren't we? If you look at verse 6, it says, "When the woman saw the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye and desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and she ate it. And she also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it." You see, the woman's told in verse 5 that if she eats the fruit, she'll be like God. And that's the temptation. It's what she desires, to be like God. To be the one in charge, the one in control, the one who makes the rules, and whom everything should revolve around. And so she eats. And the result is that everything is distorted. Every single relationship. First, our relationships with each other. If you look at verse 7, Adam and Eve now feel shame in each other's presence, rather than experiencing transparency and openness. And they blame each other in verses 11 and 12 and 13. And then there's conflict in verse 16. And then our relationship with God is distorted. They hide from him in verse 8, when they were made to walk and talk with him every day. Just like we might enjoy a walk by the sea, as the sun sets with someone special to us, with no agenda, just enjoying the moment. But no longer will they enjoy such a relationship. Death enters the world in verse 19, and we're removed from the very presence of God as they have to leave the garden in verse 24. And finally, we see that our relationship with our world is distorted. Just living will be hard work. Nothing's going to be easy. There's nothing for free. In wanting everything to be about us, Genesis 3 shows us that actually we're not in control at all, even if we think we are or we want to be. And if we bring it fast forward right to our present day context, hasn't COVID-19 revealed the same in some way? It's shown that we're not in control because there's something we can't control. Our COVID is in many ways a horrendous natural disaster in a fallen world. And if we pause to stop and take stock, then it forces us to look beyond ourselves and to ask questions about bigger things. Is there a bigger picture beyond what we normally see, where it's not all about us? Well, the Bible's answer in Genesis 3 is that there is. There is a God, and he's still in control, even when we are not. The coming of Jesus at Christmas is all about beginning to put right what's gone wrong. Romans chapter 5 explains this, which is our second reading for this morning. It shows how the actions of one, representing us all, lead to everything going wrong. Genesis 3 leads to judgment and death and condemnation, in the words of Romans chapter 5. But then Jesus comes. And in his coming, his life, his death, his resurrection, we can receive justification, just as if I've never sinned, as I was taught as a child. We can receive righteousness, being able to walk with God again, with that relationship restored rightly. And life, eternal, being given to us. Again, using the words of Romans 5 there. All these things are ours, not because of anything we do, but because of all Jesus has done. And that's grace. That's a free gift. And as Paul says, it's for everyone. As we start getting ready for Christmas in our homes and our families, I guess we'll each have traditions that we normally hold that are personal and special and important. But as we stop to take stock this year, working out what we can and can't do, will we see something more important behind all these? Or will we help others to see? Because there is something wrong with our world, and we need someone bigger than ourselves to sort it out. We need the person of Jesus, not just the trimmings we hang around him. I wonder, where do you and I need to take stock and to stop as we get ready for Christmas this year? You know, on Monday of this last week, I had a really bad day. I'll be honest about that. I was tired, I was grumpy, and try as I might, I could really only see me and my problems. The way I saw the world on Monday was through the lens of it's all about me. When things didn't go right, I was saying, woe is me. And in interactions with others, I was focused on how they could help me, not how I could help them. And when others turned out not to be able to help, I just thought, well, how unhelpful for me. And when things didn't happen by the end of the day, I could just think of all the extra work that I would have to do. I actually had to take myself away at the end of the day into the bedroom just to stop and to take stock and to see reality. I hope I'm not the only one that has those days, but I somehow think I'm not, because I think we all do. Because we all naturally revert to thinking the world is all about us. And we actually have to force ourselves to look outward and to get that bigger picture and to see life as it really is. As we begin getting ready for Christmas, let's take time to stop and to take stock over the next 6 weeks. And to see how we desperately need Jesus, who is good news for us and for our fallen world. Well, if you're watching this as part of House Church, there are some questions that are going to come up on the screen. Use them if they're helpful to discuss. If not, just talk about maybe what struck you from the talk. You don't have to use them all, but please use the ones that are helpful for you. Thank you for listening.